Hello, everybody. This is Mike Young with aPlantBasedDiet.org, and I'm excited to have with us Dr. Will Tuttle, author of the World Peace Diet, and among many other accomplishments that I know because I've introduced him before at our events. And he's going to be at some of our events in the future. So I'm so excited to announce what we're doing in terms of kind of our little mini partnership and other things going on with Dr. Tuttle. So welcome, Dr. Tuttle.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be with you, and thanks everyone for listening in and watching. Great to be with you.
Yes. Well, Dr. Tuttle, you've been involved in this movement for quite a long time, right? Probably, I think you're almost certainly one of the pioneers in plant-based and vegan living, right? How just while we're starting off here, how far does that go back into time for you?
Yeah, well, thanks. I became a vegetarian in 1975 and a vegan in 1980. And so since 1980, really, I've been a vegan activist. I was already an activist as soon as I became a vegan because I realized being a vegetarian, I was already actually a vegetarian activist, but then I realized, gosh, meat, dairy and eggs are a big problem for the environment, for animals. So I've been in this movement since back when we made the very first vegan ice cream called Ice
Yeah.
Bean. It was terrible, but it was all we had. It was great.
Right.
Yeah, since back in the 40 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a lot of history. You've seen the world changing. And actually, before we get into a little bit more of your history and, of course, the book, we want to talk about that. I want to mention that you are going to be at some of our festivals coming up here. Mostly, I think almost all of the festivals that we have in Florida. And if you go to our website, aPlantBasedDiet.org, or if you go to what we have, the URL we put together, which is ecofest.info, that brings up our list. You can click on Florida. You can see exactly when we're going to be in Florida. And Dr. Tuttle will have an appearance at almost every festival, I think, at this point in Florida, starting with Naples and Cape Coral in November. But he'll be on our big video wall. He'll be doing a remote presentation and possibly Q&A at that event, kind of almost like he's there. And then the ones following that in Florida, you will get to meet him in person, which is awesome. So I just want to make sure that people know about this.
Right. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Yeah, as you say, the Naples and Cape Coral will be there remotely, but then right after that, like in Sarasota in December, Bonita Springs also in December, and then in January in Fort Myers we'll be there. We're planning, we'll be in Florida for the winter, my wife and I,
Yeah.
and the conferences, the Veg Fest you're going to have in Gainesville and Bonita, Southwest Florida, Miami, Port Charlotte.
Yep.
Ocala, we were there last year in Ocala. That was great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we love Veg Fest. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We're so excited that you're going to be joining us. We're so excited that folks can arrive at these free admission festivals and get to talk to you, see you, ask you questions. And I want to ask a few questions while I've got you here too, because like I said, you've been a vegan for a long time, which is awesome because you're one of the pioneers. You're one of the people that is out there initially telling people about why this needs to happen. Now, what have you witnessed? I'm curious during the time that you have been vegan, 1980, and now, like, what have you seen? Where are we along this timeline, and what do you see in the future for the vegan movement?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, Mike. I want to say, first of all, what I've seen personally is just in my own life. I've been a vegan now for over 40 years, and I have to say, besides marrying my wonderful wife, Madeline, it was the smartest thing I ever did. And you really, we've been around the world many times giving lectures. I've given lectures and promoted veganism in all 50 states, in over 50 countries worldwide, all over Asia, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, North America, South America, many times, everywhere. And it's
Everywhere,
like a
yeah.
family, it's like people who are vegan understand compassion for animals. They're questioning the official narratives in our society. If I ask people, do you have any regrets, about going vegan, they always say, "Yep, I have one main regret, which is I wish I would have done it sooner in my
Yeah.
life."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's it. For me, it's been the same way. I think, I went vegan pretty young. Actually, I was, back in my 20s still. But I
Yeah.
think, there's this sort of a false notion going around. It's been going around a long time, I think, that somehow veganism is a little bit nutritionally compromised, that if you're a long-term vegan, oh, you may have problems. I mean, I'm a long-term vegan. Here I am. I'm pushing 70 years old. My wife is in her 70s. We've been
Yeah.
vegan basically since we're not lifetime vegans, but since we were in our 20s. And I have to say, uh, I can run circles around most people my age easily. I don't
Yeah.
take any drugs of any kind. I have never been to a pharmaceutical outlet like a drugstore in over 50 years.
Nice.
So to just have a life that's full of energy and where we can do all these events and never worry about getting sick. Like we've traveled all over India and China and did incredibly intense lecture schedules where we were flying every day, giving them one or two events a day.
Wow.
And people said, nobody can do that. You can't do that. Nobody's ever done that. We just do it. Because number one, the animals are counting on us, and number two, what else are we going to do? I mean, we're here on this planet to make a difference and as best we can in a positive way. So,
Yeah.
we've tapped into an infinite supply of energy, really. I mean, whole,
That's a good way to put it.
organic, plant-based foods make, a good at least half to two-thirds fresh and raw or uncooked, I think is really helpful.
Yeah.
And some good loving relationships, exercise, and having a mission and eating healthy food. All these things go together. Being aware, being conscious of our mind. Meditation is very important. Health is not only about food, but all of these things work together. And I think the underlying idea of veganism and the message in the World Peace Diet, and what I see happening actually in the whole vegan movement, it's all the same thing,
Yes.
which is to bring more awareness of kindness and respect for other living beings into our world. Because we're born into a world where we're just treating these animals like they're rocks, like they're sacks of cement. We just kill them. We don't care about them, and we do this by the millions, and then we eat that stuff. So if we're
Yeah.
eating animal foods, we're perpetrators. We don't mean to be. We don't get up in the morning and think, oh, I just want to cause a lot of suffering. But we are. We're causing a lot of
Right.
suffering when we take out our wallets and pay for chicken or veal or fish sticks or cheese. We're directly paying for and causing a lot of suffering and eating that suffering and feeding that to our children and teaching them to do the same thing. So the whole idea is to get out of prison, get out of the prison of violence, stop exploiting others and stop being exploited, get healthy in mind and body and spirit, culturally, environmentally. This kind of health is available to us. There's nothing stopping us except
Right.
this toxic program that we were all born into, that we have to eat these foods, which are just misery and toxicity that's concentrated really hundreds of times. And it's completely unnecessary. I mean, here I am. I'm
Yep.
a vegan now for over 40 years and thriving, and I'm not the only one. There's literally millions of people who are long-term vegans who are just as healthy, in most cases much more healthy than the average population.
So
So
let me
what
ask you
I've
a question,
seen,
Dr.
yeah,
Tuttle.
okay.
You became vegan in 1980, and then of course the World Peace Diet, as you mentioned, is your book. When did that book get written in that timeline?
I wrote it after about 20 years. I started writing in around 2000. The book was released in 2005. We did a 10th anniversary edition in 2015. So it's been out actually now for 15 years, 16 years.
Okay.
It's still selling a lot because it's really a timeless book. I mean, the principles I'm talking about are universal. They go on without any time. But I think, in those years, I've seen wonderful growth, I have to say, of the vegan movement. I mean, we went to places where there was a Veg Fest. And I think Veg Fests are a great way to tell because, for example, we were in Athens and they said, the first year they put on a Veg Fest, there were 5,000 people. Second year, it was 10,000. The third year we were there, 15,000 people. And they grow. These Veg Fests grow.
Yeah.
They attract people. And then out of that, we get more vegan restaurants and all these things.
People see there's a
Happen.
demand.
So
Yes. Yeah,
there's a
that's awesome.
demand. People really want to know. And I think we have to keep that momentum going, even during this time of the pandemic, the lockdown, it's kind of closing everything down to try to keep people thinking about and aware of the fact that animal agriculture is really causing a lot of harm and going vegan is a great blessing we can give to the world.
I have 2 points actually, or questions for you, because I heard one of your talks recently, and you talked about what to say when someone asks why you're vegan. And I know you mentioned that you stopped doing what you were told, and you're better off because of it. Something like that. I can't remember the exact quote. Actually, I have it written down. I was sharing it with people. I'm just trying to go on memory right now. But
Well, what that is, yes, thank you. That's a really great question, Mike, and I think it's very important. It took me decades to actually distill this down because the beautiful thing is that when we, the thing is, as vegans, we always want to change other people, right? We think, well, I'm a vegan, you're not. I need to change you because otherwise, gosh, we're going to have a disaster. So the problem is, if someone comes along and tries to change me, I'm going to fight back. I'm going to resist. Of course, that's natural, that's healthy. So as vegans, we get frustrated because people don't just change when we try to change them.
yeah, it
Of course
wouldn't
not.
be. Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's
so we
just the way
have,
it is.
yeah, it's just the way it is. So the great news is that when we just embody what veganism is, which is loving kindness and respect for others, animals and humans, and then just speak our own truth. So the words that you were just saying these are the words. I'm so happy. It's important to be positive, and it's true. I'm so happy that I discovered that the only reason I was eating animal foods all those years that I did was because I was just following orders. And then I realized it wasn't a good idea, and I'm not doing it anymore, and it's great. That's it. Don't say anything more. That's
Yeah,
all you have to say. It's just those three main points. Like I was following orders all those years. I discovered it's not a good idea. I'm not doing it, and it's great. Those three main ideas are true for everyone. I mean, the only reason anyone is eating animal foods is only one reason. It's because we're following orders. It's not something we think up on our own. We do it because our parents and teachers and friends and neighbors, everybody was doing it. We're little kids. We're born into it. So we do it too. And then we
yes.
get used to it and we want to fit in and we like the taste and we have this image of ourselves and all that stuff works together in an incredibly powerful way to keep us cemented in and locked into that behavior. So the best way to free someone is to
Yep.
just be an example. Say, gosh, I realized I was just following orders. I realized they're not a good idea. And everybody knows that in their bones. Everybody knows it's not good for your health. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for animals. It's not good for the poor workers who have to stab animals all day. It's not good for the hungry people who are starving because most of the food we're growing, we're feeding to these imprisoned animals who convert it into saturated fat, cholesterol, huge amounts of sewage,
Yeah.
toxic gases, all this stuff. I mean, it's such a ridiculously outmoded, absurd, devastating practice. Everybody
Right.
knows that. So you just say, I stopped doing it. I realized it wasn't a good idea, and it's fantastic. And then just let go. And what you've done is you've planted a seed. And that's the thing. So when I say we can't change people, I think that's true. It's kind of an act of violence to come up. I'm going to change you. But instead of that, just say, I'm just going to speak my truth. What Gandhi called this satyagraha, which means truth power, the power of truth. Just speak our truth. I'm so glad I discovered that the only reason I was eating animal foods was because I was following orders. We speak our truth, and then that seed goes in because it's true for them too. And
Yes.
then they'll forget the whole thing. If you do it well, don't try to be a big ego and try to change them. Just say it friendly, loving way. And then they'll start to chew on that, and their own compassion, their own wisdom, their own empathy will begin to water those seeds that you planted. And then when they go vegan, it'll be their own choice. And then they will be motivated to share this with other people. Instead of trying to pressure people into something, just
Right.
be a force. I think that's all we can do. We're only on this earth for a few short decades. So just do the best we can while we're here and embody what veganism is, which is love, basically. It's loving kindness. That's really what it is, Mike. Yeah, and
Yeah,
you'll know
that's
it.
excellent technique. I mean, that made a big impression when I heard you recently say this. So hopefully, folks out there, you use this technique as well. I think it's excellent because I think that just like you said, no one wants to change. You can't just go change somebody. But if you tell them or you explain, right? You explain like you did so eloquently that I just want to do my own thing. I don't want right. I don't want to do what everyone else is telling me. Like I was like
Right.
actually like you are, but no, you're not saying you are, right? But you're inferring
Right.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, never point your finger. Just say I.
Right.
I just always use I statements. I realized. I discovered. It's great. I'm so happy. I realized. That because that's the truth. We don't know for another person, but we do. I think we all know that we don't want to be imprisoned in some kind of an indoctrinated mental and physical system that's harming us and
Yeah,
harming others. And we
yeah,
don't
and
want
let me also say that I'm very thankful that from what I notice of your teachings and your work that you're doing, which is incredible, that you're hitting all facets of this. It seems like, because you're describing how important it is to not have animals, used like this, to not have animals used at all, but you're also honing in on organic, minimally processed whole foods at the same time, because that's where I see like where we are right now in terms of the timeline. My view is that we have gotten people to understand that they don't need animal products. Maybe they're not quite hitting from the same angle. Okay, we don't need this because we got all these transition products. We got all these faux this, faux that. It's kind of the same thing, right? It's kind of, to them it is, and to me it is too. Although I don't eat much of it, it's just a rare
right.
treat for me. But we're kind of in that area now where maybe people's health is not improving, and maybe it's getting worse because they're eating these products. And like I said, you are still teaching. You're still teaching. Well, it's organic, whole plants, right? Am I correct on this?
Absolutely. Oh, that's so important. I mean, to me, quite honestly, if it's not organic, it's not vegan.
Mhm.
Because when you think about it, and I've seen this, I mean, we lived in an RV for 18 years, traveling all over North America, and I've seen these massive genetically engineered fields of corn and soy and alfalfa and other feed grains, and there's pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, all kinds of toxic chemicals sprayed on these fields that kill the birds and the bees and the wildlife and insects, everything. So if we want to be a vegan, which basically means compassion and kindness and respect for animals, for ecosystems, for other human beings, for future generations, so forth, I can't take out my wallet and pay for non-organic, chemically based foods that are going to make they make us sick. I mean,
Yes.
we have to realize that glyphosate now is just everywhere. I mean, this basic ingredient in Roundup, and it's a broad spectrum antibiotic, which goes in and just wipes out your intestinal flora, and the microflora in our body is very important. So there's a lot of vegans are not healthy because they're not eating organic. And if we're not a healthy vegan, we're not helping animals. It's important to really go organic. And I would say, if possible, veganic. That's what we do. In
Yes.
other words, to try to buy foods that don't use bone meal and blood meal and fish meal and animal manure. Get the animals out of the whole thing.
Right.
So for that reason, we grow a lot of our own food. We have created a food forest here where we live in Northern California, where we have
Yeah.
about 70 fruit and nut trees and lots of vegetables and berries and herbs. And so every day, year round, when we're here, we're eating from our garden, from the fruits and from all the
Awesome.
greens and all that
Fantastic.
stuff. And
Yeah.
we know it's in that food. It's all veganic. It's a
Yeah.
lot of love, and that's the thing. You put love into the earth, and love comes back. And the more love you put in, the more love comes, and the more nourishment. This whole idea that when people say, "Oh, I eat meat because life feeds on life," you're not. That's putting out death and misery and violence, and you're eating that and causing that. And these animals don't want to be imprisoned.
Right.
So it's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
That's life feeding on death and misery, and we don't want to do that. I mean, we know that our body as physical vehicle is really our instrument to express in this world. We wouldn't want to have this beautiful instrument, this vehicle, be built out of violence and toxicity and misery, right? I mean, that's insane.
Right.
So we build an instrument so we can express love and creativity and joy and abundance and gratitude and creativity out of beautiful vegetables, fruits, grains, and nuts, seeds, and legumes. And that's easy to do. It takes a fraction of the land and the water and the petroleum. And each one of us can start doing that. We can start growing our own food
Yeah.
or start supporting people at farmers markets who are doing the best they can to grow organically, and just spread this movement of a decentralized, organic, plant-based way of living.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I'm sure we will be hearing more from you about this at the Veg Fest, and also as time goes on, because to me this seems like a process, right? A journey for everyone involved. So at least we're
It
getting
is.
folks on this into this process, right? where they're becoming open-minded and they're beginning to change ways. But there's much work to be done. I think you would agree with that, right?
It's a lot of work to be done. Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made on sick people, on disease, on war, all the things that come out of this, chemicals, and
Yeah.
I call it the military, industrial, meat, medical, pharmaceutical, media, banking complex. Right? We have this big
Wow.
complex, and it kind of runs the media, and in many ways controls the narrative. And so it's important for us, I think, to question all of it. Actually, we're doing this online summit. I'll just mention it here.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's coming up. This has been a big job. I'm in the middle of it right now, but it's October 15th to 17th. So that weekend of October 15th, 16th, and 17th, we're going to be hosting an online summit with 15 wonderful vegan pioneers who are pioneers in the vegan movement, but they're also pioneers and advocates in the health freedom movement. So we have Dr. Gabriel Cousins, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, Dr. Pam Popper, there's a bunch of actually, Rupa Shah from all over the world. We have
Yeah.
people actually, and Claire Mann and from Australia, and a bunch of people from Europe, and Brian Clement from the Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida will be speaking. And so I'm interviewing all of them. And the whole idea is that these two things go together. The more we understand about vegan living, which is about freedom and liberation of all living beings, and it's about questioning the official narratives in our society, especially those that promote disease
Mm.
and take away our freedom, then we're going to be questioning the official narratives in our society that take away not only animal freedom but human freedom as well, especially medical freedom and so forth. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's important. If you want to find out about this, you
Yeah.
can just go to my name, Will Tuttle. So it's just uh, willtuttle.com/summit. That's it,
All right.
willtuttle.com/summit. And that'll take you right to the page, and you can register now or anytime before October 15th and join us. And I hope to see you there, because I think we can learn a lot, not only about the benefits of veganism, but also about the dangers right now that we're facing in order to keep our movement for liberation and freedom and happiness and health strong in the
Yeah.
face of all of the pressure that's coming down from these large corporations. It's very important, I think, to get informed.
Okay, you said that this is the Health Freedom Summit. Is that the name there?
And the name of it is called the Worldwide Vegan Summit for Truth and Freedom. The
Truth.
Worldwide Vegan Summit for Truth and Freedom. It's kind of a long name, but I wanted to get
Okay.
it all in
Okay,
there.
but did you mention to me when you were speaking earlier about health freedom? Is that a concept, health freedom, or is that just
Yeah,
something?
health freedom is a movement now. I
Right.
think ever since the pandemic about a year and a half ago, and we started losing, in many ways, some of the basic freedoms that we've been taking for granted, of religion, of assembly, of speech, and censorship, and so forth. People started saying, well, we need a movement for health freedom, freedom to talk about these ideas and to have bodily autonomy, and so the things that really
Right.
are enshrined in the Nuremberg principles and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Because I know that there's been a lot of people. I'm sure people have noticed that or heard of censorship in the media about certain things, good or bad. But I guess this is kind of falling into that. But of course, you're looking at it from a different perspective. Let's say that because you're obviously a strong vegan, and you're very much concerned about the health of the individual. So anybody who has these ideals or is striving towards these ideals, I would highly recommend to get signed up for your conference and learn more about that.
Right. Yeah. willtuttle.com/summit. It's the Worldwide Vegan Summit for Truth and Freedom. And yeah, the basic point is personal responsibility. I think that's the whole thing. I found over the years that taking responsibility for our own food, our own health, the quality of our consciousness, the quality of our relationship, when each one of us does that and takes time to practice the disciplines to refine our mind as an instrument, our relationships, then and our physical body, then we have something positive to give to the world, right? Then we create
Yes.
something positive to give to the
Yes.
world. If I don't do that, if I just expect the world is going to give it to me, it has to protect me, it has to keep me safe. I mean, to me, is a complete abrogation of what it is to be a human being. what it is to be a spiritual being, because it's
Right.
the same thing. To be a spiritual being, a human being, means to take responsibility for the quality of consciousness and to create and co-create with others in an
Yes.
empowered way, not to run around being afraid of everybody else and to try to protect myself and be safe from that whole thing comes out of animal agriculture. I mean, I
Okay.
talked
Yeah.
about that, but animal agriculture is about dominating and exploiting animals and nature. So we are now alienated and afraid of
Hmm.
nature and animals. And now we're afraid of viruses and bacteria. We're afraid of other people. We're afraid of everything. And if you're afraid like that, you might as well be in a prison.
Right.
So
And
the
you're
whole
not
idea
going
is
to,
to wake up. Yeah.
you can't offer anything beneficial to the rest of society, I think. And to
No.
kind of give an example of that concept that you just talked about, I will tell you that, you and I have only met in the last few years, but years and years ago, and I still am an introvert for sure. All right. Whether you realize that or not, but I would never have imagined that I would be out in front of people doing these types of things that I'm doing and have been doing. Never. That was not on my radar, my plans, whatever. It didn't feel like it was me. But just as you said, I've learned new information. I've worked on myself because I had to work on myself to get to the point where I could get in front of folks and transmit this information, because the old me would never have been okay with that. It's kind of like you were saying, more of a fearful uh, view on things, maybe from animal agriculture, like you said. So,
Yeah, well, that's great, and it's really, I think, your love, really, your love for animals and your love for other people that propelled you out of your comfort zone. And I
yes.
think that's the key thing, as long as we want to stay in a comfort zone and be comfortable, we're going to be comfortably unaware, right? We're going to be comfortably just oblivious and be comfortably afraid. That's what people
Good point.
it's really a disease. It's like that's the real virus. The real virus is a mind virus of fear that's being propelled and passing from one to the other. And so we're basically spreading something positive to heal that. A
Yes.
sense of love and kindness and respect for others. And I know that. I feel if I get close to people, they're going to get healthy. They're not going to get sick.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. Yeah, you're right. You have a positive impact on them. And also,
Yeah.
I also agree that just in general, it seems like everything that you really want, that you truly want, right, is outside of your comfort zone. So you have to work on that. And you have to, if you ever want to get what you really want, you have to work on all these concepts that you've been talking about.
Exactly. That's really important. Yeah. Going outside of our comfort zone and yeah, and just being on that edge where we're learning and growing and contributing. And you're doing that so beautifully, Mike. I
Yeah.
really want to say
Thanks.
I
Well,
really
you as
appreciate
well. I mean,
it.
I'm learning from those that have gone before me, like yourself, and you're still here. Like I said, you're still pre- preaching the message at probably a higher level, okay, than I am for sure. But I'm only here because of me being able to stand up because of folks before me, such as yourself. And I'm so glad you're still going. And like you said, it's a testament to the lifestyle that you are still doing this, because most of the people that would be around the same number of years, they're not in a position to even think about doing this because of their health.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So I want to thank you, Mike. If I want to thank everyone
Yes.
for being here. And if anyone wants to find out a little bit more about what we're doing, you can also just go to our website, which is worldpeacediet.com or willtuttle.com, either one. And my wonderful wife, Madeline, has cooking videos,
Oh
and we
yeah.
have lots of essays that I've been writing, and our tour schedule. We're actually leaving. We're going to be on a tour schedule lecturing around the United States a couple of times this fall, and so you can see where we're going to be, and maybe we'll see you in Florida, hopefully, at these
Yeah.
Veg Fest. That would be great.
Awesome. So thank you for being our guest here, Dr. Tuttle. Look forward to seeing you more in the future, both on the big screen at our events and
Right.
also in person, in enjoying the outdoors and the nice warm weather. If anyone needs a vacation, right? Come on down. Just figure out how to make things work to get down there, and no cost for our event unless you want to buy something. That's it. So
That's a fantastic thing you're offering. It's really terrific. It's a whole opportunity that people have to meet other people, to learn, to transform their lives in a positive way. So that's fantastic. I mean, we look forward to seeing you, Mike, and seeing everyone there as
yes, I
well.
look forward to it as well. So thank you very much, Dr. Tuttle.
Thanks.
Bye bye.